What's going on, Dandy Crew? It's Danny Drew here, and we are back for another day of Catan. I've got a big announcement, which is it's a new season for Colonist, and I've decided to officially announce that we will be doing another Road to Rank Number 1 series. I've been asked by tons of people over the last year, say, Drew, we got you to number 1 last season 4, but you haven't made an actual run since. And I agree. My motivation to play as many games as it's needed just wasn't quite there. And it's been a certain amount of time now where I feel, you know what? I think the audience deserves somebody to actually make high quality content and show you how to play this game at the highest, most pristine level that I can. So we are going to turn this season, Road to Rank Number 1. That's my promise to you. In the comments below, I also want to make sure that if I don't hit number 1, there needs to be a punishment. So I'm going to essentially take the top 4 or 5 like dancers down below, and whatever that punishment is, and if I don't hit number 1, my promise to you is I will do it within reason. Don't get me arrested. Don't get me in trouble. But I feel pretty confident we're going to get there, and I just want to include you on this journey. If you're excited about Catan, you want to learn how to become a better player and learn a lot of the top high-level strategies, you are in the right place. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, to be completely transparent, the game today that you're looking at was actually a game that was played last season, but my microphone wasn't turned on. So we are going to do some retroactive commentary, talk about this game, talk about the flow of it. So let's get into it. I'm excited. New season. We're going to number 1. That's my promise to you. Comment below my punishment, and let's talk about the board at hand. All right, so we are Zarbi, blue in the 4th position. Now, usually when I look at a board, I'm looking at the overall makeup, all the resources, what's in supply, how about the accessibility, and I usually look at the wheat and ore first. So if you look at this situation, there's a medium amount of wheat, but it's kind of interestingly clogged on the right side of the board, with the 4 and the 3 kind of being a weaker element. And the ore is kind of decent. It feels like maybe 3 players are going to get onto this decent 6 ore. But one player is going to obviously have the bulk of the ore in the 6-3-4. Also, the brick's very interesting to me, which is I can only see with this 9 brick, maybe 2 players are going to have a really good wood brick combination versus like the 8 brick. Well, kind of stuck in no man's land. I really don't know how viable that's going to be as a strategy. Now, looking at red, he does go 5, 9, 10 points right. I think it's a very principled pick. I like it. Obviously, doubling down on this wheat situation, getting that rare brick. So I think that's actually a really smart pick. Second, takes the 3, 10, 8 here, takes the sheep and points left. Oh, I'm looking at some profiles kind of to get a sense of the player's strength. Easy E's looking like a solid intermediate player. But 3, 10, 8 points left. Again, doubling down on that wheat, picking up the sheep. I like where his head is at. Now, Easy E, he's got to figure out a situation here. How does he find his niche? And I would say at home, if you ever want to pause for any position, whether we're doing 3rd or 4th, take a moment, pause, and kind of figure out what you would do here. I think probably a good situation for orange here is to probably take something like the 6-3-4 at the top of the board, make a claim that they do have the best ore and they have the 2nd best wheat available. And there's actually quite a few options that they can play with that. So I quite like that opportunity for them. We'll see what they pick here. Wherever you're at in the world, I hope you're doing amazing. I hope you're doing well. And as far as orange is concerned, he has chosen the 5, 9, 10. Now, take a moment at home if you want to pause your video, figure out where would you go here, but let's discuss this one. In the 4th position, it is our turn. And I think as I kind of alluded to, this 6-3-4 being very interesting. One of the things here is 6-3-4 is actually kind of dying to be more of an ore wheat sheep development card style game. And one of the things I'm looking at here is if I take 6-3-4, how do I build the most competitive ore wheat sheep game? I'm actually originally, I was looking at the 6-3-11, and the idea is that, okay, I don't get as much sheep, but I do pick up another wheat tile, which having the 4 and the 3, and then also the doubled 6s and also the 3 down here, can actually be really advantageous. But I want you to pause the video and ask yourself, what are some of the drawbacks of taking the 6-3-11? Well, I think the biggest thing to me is that if I take the 6-3-11, what I end up doing is I open up the 5-6-12. And that was a monster spot, maybe potentially for red, potentially for green. Ideally, I don't want other players buying development cards as much as me because then the competition's a much less. So I have to make this calculated decision. Do I take the 5, 6, 11, pick up the sheep, hoping that the ore gets locked with the 6, 11, 4, or do I play a little bit more on the wheat side? And I think in this situation, it makes a lot of sense to lock the 6. It's a hard call, but ultimately my plan is that hopefully green is going to take the 6, 11, 4, and that is the only person I have to worry about when it comes to ore wheat sheep. Now it is true, green will have an advantage on wheat. We both produce equal amounts between the 4 and the 10, and they'll have that little touch on the 3, but the 3 is still a roll for us. So for instance, we're going to get the ore on the 3, they're going to get the wheat on the 3. So in a way, we're still getting something. And because of red's situation here, we should expect that their hand's going to be kind of flooded with some additional wheat. So any additional ore that we have, I actually think we'll be able to flip to red pretty easily. Now, let's pray, let's hope. But again, I think green's probably going to lock the 6, 11, 4. And now all of a sudden, red's maybe forced to something like 8, 10 or 9, 3, 11. That's what I would do is if I'm green here. Because if they take something like the 6, 3, 4, well, then the 6, 11, 12 is now open to red, and our advantage, yeah, perfect. So again, taking the 6, 11, 3 would have been nice for us to get that little touch of wheat, but I think locking the 6 actually has some big advantages. Now for red, oh, what a road. What a horrible road. I think immediately seeing green make that move makes me feel a lot better about our position. I don't know if that was a mistake or a misclick. Generally speaking, I'd say 95% of the time, majority of the time, you just want to point towards the coast, especially if you're playing ore wheat sheep. Because with ore wheat sheep, you don't need a lot of settles. Usually you need one road settle to a functional port, whether that's like a 3-1 or a 2-1 port that makes a lot of sense. And then usually you just need an extra road settle to be like an easy point. You know, maybe you pull a Yop or you pull a road builder. I'm assuming this was a mistake by green, but no doubt about it, this mistake could cost green the game. It's really that simple from a standpoint of optimization. One bad road can absolutely ruin your position and make it so much more difficult to close out the game. Now, looking at red's in a tricky spot. I think if they thought about this a little bit deeper, they might have seen the board place out this way. So they have to kind of make some decisions. Do they go something like the 6-2, which doesn't seem that great. They're not going to have the ore wheat sheep game. They don't have any wood to go with the brick. Probably, honestly, better is to go something more like the 8-10. It's a little bit more functional, or the 8-4. All right, we got a game, and immediately we get the 6 roll. Yeah, that's a tough call. I think I would have either had a toss-up between 8-10 and 8-4, but either way, okay, he gets a starting road. Maybe that was his calculation there. I also like the 8-4 just to have the versatility of the sheep in your back pocket, and then you could always build backwards to like the 9-3-11 to take space. Now, really, we have two main goals here. The first goal is we absolutely must get a city. This 8-3-4 is going, or 6-3-4 is going to be massive. And of course, like I said, trading to red is always going to be easy for us. They're going to have an excess wheat, so we make a really good trade there. But yeah, 6-3-4, first objective down, that ability to increase our wheat production and help guide our development cards. Perfect start to the game. Also, great job by Orange. I think getting down that early settle on the 6 definitely gives them a lot more life to work with. And now we're going to keep looking around, see if we can maybe get some trades to keep the development cards flowing. And then as far as the settle, we actually, oh my goodness, look at this. This is money. As far as our settle, we actually have a great settle, which is the sheep port. So if we can get onto the sheep port here and then have our 5 or 11 be kind of flexible cards, you know, we do have some weaknesses in this position. Obviously, the 4 is kind of our golden goose. If the 4 gets blocked or the 4 is not rolling, it's very difficult. But one thing to note is we do actually have a decent port play, which is going to the sheep port. So for instance, if we can get maybe a Yop or a road builder or get a couple decent trades, well, once we get onto the sheep port and see the 6, 5, 11, that 5 and 11 can kind of be our flexible wheat if the 4 is not rolling or available to us. So this is a fantastic or wheat sheep. I think the board plays really well into it with some of the excess wheat coming from even green or red. So I love what we have here. Now we do have a second city in our hand. Well, okay. We did have a second city in our hand. Wow. Green passes after all of that. That is shocking to me. I mean, ideally, with a mono, you always want to try to get at least 2 points out of it, but to drop a city and pass, I mean, damn, it worked out for them, but seems kind of like a risky play. And he survives one whole round. Yeah, wild stuff, man. All right, so we're moving and grooving here. Easy E. Green got bailed out hard. I think that 7 would have probably killed the game, but they do have 2 cities down, so pretty scary. We do have a really nice hand that's kind of prompted here for a 6 to roll. And what's nice here about this situation is if red blocks the 6 ore, well, then we have the other 6 available to us. So I think from a pacing perspective, green having 2 cities actually gives us a little bit more life to work here. So I'm pretty happy about this situation. Yep, and any time that I can get trades here for the wood or brick, I'm going to take it. I ideally need that wood and brick to get me to the settle sooner than later. Now, I think he's going to block the 4. The 6 is also a decent block. But green has to see I'm his biggest competition on devs, and if he's not blocking me, he's really hurting his chances, especially now that he's lost kind of this whole road building configuration at the bottom. He can't afford to be suboptimal. Yep. And we're okay with this. We are okay dokie with this. 6 is a development card. Perfect. Now, if we can roll a 6 here. Oh, baby. Pop once, pop twice. Perfect scenario. We get the 6 when we need it. We get the VP. We get the Knight. And at this point, guys, it's really simple. Once you get that first key city down, what you want to do is you want to focus on essentially going for your win condition. Of course, we can try to find a way to get to the port, but I think what we're going to have to do is have our development cards and some of our night pools kind of guide us there. So I'm not too concerned, honestly. I think as we keep pulling devs, that's going to tell us probably what's the most optimal path. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do wheat for non-block. Very good opportunity here for red. Usually has the wheat in their hand. So he has none, according to him. You can't rob me, mate. I can rob whoever I want. All right, we're going for messy. The wood is good. The wood is good. Now, I think there is a play here potentially looking at like ore for brick. Ore for brick's a decent trade with red as he's always going to need ore. And he's always going to have kind of an excess of brick. So that might have been a missed opportunity. And perfect. Nice. Here in the situation, I'd be happy to give red an ore if he ever wants to make a deal not to block me or steal from me. Because his hand's pretty good. But perfect. 6 is great. And it doesn't hurt me as much because I still profit on the 6. So this is a massive block for green, but really a quite marginal block for me because I'm already getting 2 ore from my 6 anyways. So I don't know how much I like that. A lot of players, I think, in the beginning to intermediate phase tend to really value shared blocks. And in my opinion, I think a lot of cases it's overrated or it's just the wrong move. Having more of these power blocks that really give people life are probably more of a critical focus. But hey, man, you live and you learn. By the way, wherever you're at in the world, I hope you're doing amazing. I hope you're doing well. I'm just happy that you're here enjoying some Catan. I'm so excited for this upcoming season. You have no clue. I've already been playing a lot of games to try to get ahead of this. And yeah, it's great, man. I think we're going to just do some awesome stuff this season. So get excited, get energized. And we need a 4 here. Oh, not ideal. Not bad, though. Okay, so let's see if we can cheaply get a dev here. Otherwise, we always have a 4-for-1 option. I'm not particularly excited about 4-for-1ing here, but if we can drop a road or we can keep the devs popping, I think that's great. I think a dev is great here. We got a lot of 4 with the 6 and 3, and typically, ooh, big mono. Mono. Typically, I would say don't 4-for-1 ore, but in this situation, when devs are the absolute way that we're going to crush this game, I think it's kind of necessary. So I don't mind in that situation, especially when we're fighting somebody and we're trying to get pacing on army. I think it's needed. Okay, so we do have a brick in our hand. That is definitely going to be a brick that we need to use to drop a road here. Also, if we can get a combination of 4 and 6, we can start to buy some more devs. But our game's simple. This is why I recommend, if you're new to Catan, learning how to play a development card or eat sheep. And as far as I'm concerned, we just keep hammering green. Until we get army, we keep hammering green. Perfect steal. Grabbing the wood, more or less securing the sheep port. Red is kind of busy going to this 9-3-11 situation, so shouldn't be too much of an issue. And we still need to make sure that we get, we need to get ahead of army. We are behind. Green does have a knight played on us, and we don't have another knight. Ooh, there's some wheat out there. I think we got some wheat from red. We got a little bit of wheat with green here. So let's see what happens. Obviously, if like a 6 rolls, I think a 3 to 4 wheat mono is absolutely killer. I'm going to take 411 red. 411, huh? Okay. Orange making some deals, wheeling and dealing. I think an ore for... Ooh, interesting trade here. I think also there's ore for wheat straight up, potentially with red. Just to buy myself a dev. And this is a trade I think red takes in a lot of cases. He has 2 wheat in hand. So for him to get an ore and a sheep, pretty damn good. So just a trade that you got to know those kind of trades exist. And then I'm seeing if I can go kind of crazy here and get the settle. Settle's pretty nice. No. I think we just pop here. Knight's great. And we can always roll that 4. And we've got the mono in hand. Big 7 here by red. Now, looking in red's position, knowing that orange is trying to potentially take some of the space and fight him on road, I think it makes a lot of sense to hit orange here. I think potentially the 6 is a great block, kind of slowing me down a little bit as well. I do have 3 down devs. What else could he hit here? The 4? 4 is actually probably one of his better blocks too. But the 6 just seems like such a big roll. You're getting 4 ore, so it makes a lot of sense. And I think he's hitting orange here in most cases. If he hits me, then I think that's probably not his best situation. It depends on what he's looking for. But his biggest competitor is orange on road right now. So I think you have to hit orange for sure. Yeah, kind of an interesting game. You know, we have kind of 2 designated road players between orange and red. Then green and myself are really kind of doubling down on the ore wheat sheep. And as in my mind, as long as I can slow down green and let red and orange fight it out, I've got a super good chance here. One thing that does concern me, though, is ideally when you're playing ore wheat sheep, you want to have at least 2 additional settle spots. So we're going to get the sheep port. That's almost guaranteed because I think red's going to settle here first and then drop a city. But our second settle's not so clear. So for instance, if we pulled a road builder, we could go to like the 411 or the 8, but we might lose the 411 in a lot of cases here. So typically what that means is if we don't get another settle spot, then we need 2 VPs minimum, absolute minimum here. Probably should be a me here. I do have 3 down devs, and wow, still hits red. That's unbelievable. All right, I think I have to keep putting pressure on green. Unfortunately, they are going to be the reason that I'll lose army if I do. So I can't allow that to happen. I know that seems like a crazy situation, but I am fighting army tooth and nail. And anytime I can get some decent wood and brick trades with my ore, that's typically the trade-off with the road players. They're going to give me their wood and brick. I'm going to give them their ore so that they potentially could city. But once we get the sheep port, I think we're going to cook really nicely here. Really fun line I like to say here a lot of times. We need to work together here, red, or we lose. I do find typically if you think you're behind with another player, kind of encouraging them to say, hey, let's work together. Let's be a team. I think that's going to be our best path forward. A lot of times that might just wake up the board from what I've seen. So I like to try to inspire my teammates like that, or my board mates, however you want to call it. And we lose army. Ugh, that's so frustrating to see. And then green keeps popping. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. You know, that was our kind of window, I think, to get army. But I think one thing to always keep in mind with or wheat sheep is you're never dead. You never know what kind of devs you can pull. You don't know what kind of rolls you're going to get. If you have a monopoly, there's always a chance. And I like to kind of keep that in the back of my mind. I do find a lot of players, once they lose ground like they have here, like they lose momentum, they shut down, they give up, they stop trading, they stop communicating with the board. And that's probably one of the worst things you can do. Versus like if you can kind of work with the board and kind of keep the trades flowing, you're in a much better position that way. All right, so I'm looking for a trade here. I know Red has this trade. I know he's got the wheat. I know he's got the brick. And I'm also going to communicate with him and say, hey, Red, if you can do this trade, I'm going to try to fight Army. But we've got to work together here, my man. So there we go. We got a trade down. Now I'm going to push to see if I can get the settle. I think the settle is pretty important to me long term to help my flexibility. Otherwise, I do have a pop. And buying a dev is not bad. Here we go. We got it. We got it. Boom. We got the settle down. All right, this is a big win for our position. Now we do have potential sheep monos. Oh, here we go. This gives us a double pop, which actually is very interesting. I don't think Red's going to like that very much, but we're going for the double pop here, folks. I think it's our only chance. Also, too, ripping the sheep in that situation actually gives us a lot to work with. Now, interesting note here. I want you to see, I'm going to pause real quick. Do you notice how I popped like one at a time here? So I ported for a wheat, popped. And then I assessed the situation, then I poured again. What a lot of people do is they will just port their entire hand for 3 devs and pop 3 times in a row. Be patient. Maybe very likely I was always going to pop twice, but by taking my time with it and assessing, it's just a more optimal play. Sometimes you don't have to pop twice. In this situation, we do, because we're fighting Army, so we need multiple knights. But I think it's good practice to pop one at a time and figure out from that. All right, let's dive back in. Perfect, perfect. So there we go. We're kind of primed now for the win. As long as we have the 2 VPs and we have Army, we don't need that 4th settle. So this is music to my ears. I have also wiped all the sheep off the board. So I feel pretty confident that even if, let's say, green has or and wheat, excuse me, they don't have the sheep. Now they're going to steal the sheep. But big mistake there. Big mistake. They did not try to buy dev. So if they don't have a knight and we actually end up buying another knight, they're going to lose Army. A lot of times I see players pass really fast, which is always strange to me. Like, take your time. You have at least a minute every turn. You don't have to blast your turn away. But okay. Let's go hit our boy Green. We want to limit his hand as much as possible. Oh, I think we're changing gears here. Okay, brick's okay. Brick's okay. I think also hitting green's kind of smart here. I don't want green buying more devs and making my life more difficult. If I had another knight, I would have no problem changing the pace there, though. Not a bad deal. Giving that to red. And brick could be useful to orange if he has it. I don't think he does, though. So, okay, I don't know. Maybe the 10 was a little bit premature. But if I do have that 4th knight, then it's okay. But the fact that I don't have a knight could have actually cost me a lot here. Now, oof, that's a big 7 by red. The real question here for red is, what does he end up blocking, right? Is he threatened with me? Does he want to put more pressure on orange because orange is his road competition? Red's probably in the worst situation here. And I think a good block for him is potentially the 6 ore still. Wow, and he keeps hitting orange. I think these players are really discounting my development cards. Ooh, big 3. Oh, not good, man. See? Green popping there is just really, really not great for us. But we do have a dev in hand, so if he pulls a non-knight, so let's say green pulls... Oh, no. There we go. We roll it back. Yeah, so we got to pray that green doesn't have knights here. And if they do, then it just makes my life a little bit more difficult. Big roll there. Let's go. So we have 2 development cards in our hand. which is massive. Okay. Pop once, knight's perfect. Pop twice. Yop is perfect too. Ideally, I wish I had a second knight to go with that, just to make sure that I can really keep the pressure on. But Yop's not bad. I think the Yop could potentially be the second settle in the 4-11. Now they're trying to feed green pops here. It's getting a little bit close. And I'm, trying to push back a little bit. I don't know if you really, I think the saving grace for the board, the reason they would keep popping or giving green pops is he hasn't really set himself up for like that great of an end game. Because of the way he's played his roads, it's a little bit wonky. It's a little bit weird. Oh, we got army. That's beautiful. Or do we? We don't know. Yeah, I mean, obviously he would have to play a knight this turn. Yeah, they don't realize I only have one knight though. But yes, I do have 4 devs. They're right. It's pretty scary. It's pretty scary. It's pretty scary. Now, anticipation, if he doesn't play a knight, we obviously have to play the knight this turn. We have to, go to 8. What's the right block? The fact that we only have the one knight and one card in our hand is pretty concerning to me. So I actually think keeping the pressure on green here is actually kind of paramount. If for whatever reason, let's say green gets 2 knights in his back pocket, he could overtake us and very likely we end up losing the game. So I'm very conscious still in this position. Feel like the road game still has a lot of room for red and orange to fight each other on, which is great. But, oof, that's not good. That's not good. Yeah, I mean, that could have been game, technically. I mean, they don't know that. It could have been game, though, like if he pulled 4 VPs. But knowing I have 2 VPs, he can only pull 3. So he could be at 9 points, just straight up, which is actually terrifying. And now it looks like orange is on 9 points, which is also terrifying. And if he has a VP, okay. Never mind. But who knows? I mean, this could be pop, pop. Pop, pop for the win. Oh my goodness. All right. Now we've created a window with nice. Nice. So we need to see if we can sell this brick. Getting another knight would actually be amazing. Amazing for us. And I think honestly red has to start taking some of these risks here. But we need to pull another knight here. I think if we pass, green is going to overtake us. So I'm trying to sell this brick. It's not a fun position to be in. I think green's on 9, and then, sorry, orange is on 9, and then green is kind of breathing down our neck. So I'm not crazy about this, but we have great potential. Having the Yop in our hand, like, so for instance, let's say we hold here. We do have 2 orbits. All right, so he's saying he has, by the way, orange has 2 knights. That's good. But still, he can certainly close us out. The way I look at this is we have to essentially create a window. We have a Yop, so the Yop could be used for one of the cities. But the problem is we need 2 cities or we need the VP pull for the 3rd VP. So this is actually surprisingly a tough situation to pull off. If we can get 2 wheat here, that's amazing. All right, what's red going to do here? Red's got to take road. So if we can get this trade here, I think our chances of winning go up significantly. Oh my goodness. Get greedy, guys. Be willing to ask for multiple cards. Sometimes it's going to be the difference in how you win games. All right, red is going on a road excursion. And this absolutely eviscerates green here. I mean, now he needs a road builder just to even have a chance. Not to mention, he needs a road builder, he needs army. And this is what happens when you place your roads improperly. He's asking for it. I don't know why, though. Why would he drop his roads that way? He's fighting red. Makes no sense, man. Wild. Why didn't he just go to the wheat port? I don't know. I don't get it. But what are you going to do? All right. Uh-oh. 6, 3, and 4 is all winning for us here. Absolutely incredible. Oof. Don't like to see that. So it kind of feels like by green playing the road builder there, they probably have no knights. I think otherwise if they had knights, they would play it to catch me. All right. Oof. That is not the win, folks. All right, we do have a pop. That is not it. Now, in this situation, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear my hand here. I'm going to grab some wheat. Wheat's always going to be good for us. I think the second city works pretty well. And I think ideally, because I have this knight that I can play next turn, I think what I'll do is I'll use the op this turn. And then that way I can free up the knight next turn. Makes a lot of sense to me. Now the 11, like the 6 is a monster roll. The 11 is perfect and beautiful. Oh my goodness. All right, so now the 6 wins. Easy peasy. Easy peasy. Very likely orange has that knight, so they could technically break our hand by stealing the sheep or the wheat. But having the knight, that is also good as well. So this is like a point in the game where your tracking has to be absolutely pinpoint, right? If we lose one of our key cards, we have to know how do we save this game here. All right. Okay, well, there's all the knights gone. I think we might have locked army. All right, so it's definitely us here. There's no doubt about it. I think they will certainly put it on us. The question is where? I mean, now we, honestly, probably the 4. Yeah, that's a great block, man. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. Now, the big question is here, if we 7, what do we do? Oof. Don't 7. Don't 7. Perfect. There you go. Oh my goodness. Crazy, crazy flow of the game. And there you go. Just got super super close at the end. 1780 game, right? That's a monster elo. I mean, we're talking close to top 100 there from last season. And worked red real good. Props for that. I don't know what his deal is. He's saying I worked red. I mean, red had his own game. I mean, red's I don't know. Yeah, that's unacceptable. Unnecessary. I mean, red, it literally has the win in hand. I think, so let's kind of fast forward a little bit. These guys, little things to note here. Let's see if we can go back to the board. We'll go through some of the stats real quick. There's the resource stats. As you can see, we did get robbed just as much as green and orange. No 7 out, which is actually pretty nice considering we didn't really have a functional port for most of the game. And we also didn't even produce the most cards. This is the beautiful thing with Or Wheat Sheep, is that you don't have to have necessarily the most resources, but you do need to have the most efficiency, which is what we did have. We had a great opportunity with popping for VPs. We pulled a mono, which was huge. So yeah, I like it. I love it. Let's see some other stats here, some of the rolls. See if we can go back to the original board here. There we go. So what are some key takeaways? First of all, I think one of the first major decisions we made was going 6-5-11 over the 6-3-11. 6-4-3 was always going to go, but with the 6-5-11, again, we lock that 6-or and we don't give red the ability to get on it. So now our only direct competitor, if you look at the situation, was honestly green. And because of the way green placed their roads, I really felt as long as we get army, their long-term potential to even build a 10 was quite minimal. So as you notice, I was pulling knights. I was constantly hitting green, with the exception of the 10 block, which I actually think was a little bit of a misplay from me, but still worked out. Interesting decision by red to go onto the 10-8. I don't know. Maybe the 8-4 might have been slightly better just because they do have more of a road network where they can go something like 8-4 onto the 8, wrap around and connect. Interesting call. I guess also 8-3 is pretty good for them in terms of picking up that 3. Yeah, it's a tough decision, but I like the 8-5-10 overall. It's a challenging position here for first. Orange played this great. I thought orange, even though the 9-5-10 is interesting, I didn't particularly like it. Looking at how it works with the 9-4-2 up to 6-2, it actually plays quite nicely. So you do have access to all the resources, the wood, the brick, the sheep, and then you pick up the 6231 port. Actually a pretty kind of smart, thinking ahead play from Orange. So I like what they did. I think we played it pretty straightforward, right? You get a city on the 634, you cook your ratios up, you get the sheep port, and you cook it from there. Pretty fun game. Had a good time with this one. I just want to say thank you for everyone for coming out. This was a very fast-paced game. It felt like I was definitely speaking from the edge of my seat, doing some of the reviews. So hopefully you enjoyed that. And again, new season, season 9 for Colonist. My promise to you is we are getting to number 1. So get excited, get energized. We're going to have a great time this season. And honestly, I just appreciate you being here, enjoying the journey. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe. That's it. That's all I got to say. Much love, Danny Crew. I'll catch with you soon. Get out of here. Peace.